You're gonna have to go got it or something.
So much, Ken.
You're welcome. Have a good meeting.
Yes, thank you. Hey, there's no voice?
Well, we're talking.
Oh, okay.
Nobody was saying anything.
Okay.
Morning, Loretta.
So I'm Scott, and I'm just going to go down here and try to get everybody that got written down, and you can just introduce yourself by telling them your name and where you're from. I'm Scott Teeples, and I'm Oregon. And how about Ruth?
I'm Ruth Dunn, and I'm from Savannah, Missouri. That's Northwest Missouri.
And Valerie?
I'm Valerie Livengood, and I live near Picayune, Mississippi. I'm in the country. So.
Okay, and Linda?
Which Linda?
Well, in Mississippi.
Linda Hanberry. I haven't scrolled through and seen her yet.
She was on. She might
She's
have
on. She's muted. Okay, how about Abby?
This is Abby Chatelaine. I'm in Picayune, Mississippi.
Okay, Lavonda.
I'm Lavanda Salas, and I'm from Hilo, Hawaii.
Okay, Loretta.
I'm Loretta McDonald, and I'm from Bryanville, Oregon.
Okay, and Barbara S.
I'm Barbara Sheeter, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii.
Okay, and Linda Nyseth. Where are you?
Linda Nyseth from Amity, Oregon.
Okay. Let's see, I got artists.
I'm Artist Snyder, and I'm from North Dakota.
Okay, Eleanor.
Hi, Eleanor. I'm from Grace Lake, Illinois, northwest of Chicago.
Well, welcome. Ann Egan.
Well, I'm Ann, and I live in McMinnville, Oregon.
Okay, and I think I'm gonna miss some people here, but how about, is there an Agnes on? Oh, I can't see it. Maybe she left. How about Teresa?
Yes, I'm Teresa Hatfield from Holton, Kansas.
Welcome. And Bonnie Teeples.
Bonnie Teeples from Oregon.
And Patricia.
Hi, I'm Pat Kubo from Hawaii.
Okay, who did I miss?
Carla.
Who?
Carla.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi there, I'm Carla Robinson from Richmond, Missouri.
Okay, these things start popping up so fast I can't hardly get to them. Anything else I missed?
Melissa Whitfield in Picayune.
And where are you from, Melissa? I missed that.
Picayune, Mississippi with Valerie.
Okay, well, thank you for being here.
Thank y'all for letting us join y'all.
Oh, you're welcome to join anytime. If you want to send me your email, I'll add you to the list.
Thank you.
The others. Valerie's got my email, so you can get it from her too. So I'd like to welcome everybody here. Is there anybody else I missed before I go on? So I'd like to introduce our guest today. It's Valerie. And Valerie, I forgot your last name.
Livengood.
Okay, and so she's going to be doing it right there. And we practiced last night, but we are going to see what we can do there. I'm going to spotlight her for everybody so you can see her. So I'm going to turn the time over to you, Valerie. The time is yours.
Okay. You need to do the share screen so I can bring up my program.
Whatever you'd like to do.
It says host disabled participant sharing, screen sharing.
Okay, so let me go back and I'll go see if I got one. Okay. You're a co-host. So you should be able to, oh, wait a minute. You're not, oh. Okay, now try it.
Okay. All right. All right. Can you see the screen yet?
No, there we go.
Oh,
I'll kind of talk to you and tell you what I see.
okay.
It says we started sharing screen, but I don't see anything on it.
No.
Oh, wait.
no, this one.
Okay, all I see is a gray screen.
Mine says, please move this window away from the shared application.
Okay, you may have to stop sharing and then try it again.
Right. Okay.
Okay, now I can see I can see your presentation, but it's, you know, it isn't full screen.
Full screen.
No.
Okay. I think last night we did some beginning, and let's see. Well, it's not. It says move this window away from the shared application. I didn't see that one last night.
Okay, so
Valerie, if you click on just slide 1, will it go full screen?
It does on my computer.
okay. Well, you may have to just present it without making it large. So go ahead.
Well, now my whole thing has disappeared. Not sure what happened.
Well, try going back to share screen.
The whole thing disappeared. The whole Zoom thing.
Okay.
Where?
We can still see it.
Here we are. Okay. All right. Share screen. Here. Yeah. Let's see. I have to go back in.
Okay, so we can see your picture of countryside.
Well, reopen my
Okay, you're fine.
All right.
So is what I'm seeing your files and stuff right now.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not. All right. This thing is in the way. And oh, here it is. Okay. I'll try again. Open my PowerPoint.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Okay, I can see your PowerPoint now.
All right.
You might try going up to where it says slideshow.
All right.
It's right.
Covered by the bar from the Zoom thing. Okay. It's hidden underneath the.
Okay, but it's where it says slideshow, right above your cursor.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's a drop-down bar from Zoom that is blocking it on my computer for some reason.
Okay, you can pull that over if you need to.
Okay. Okay, I see. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I'm having nice trouble with this.
You're fine.
Back up. Pull this out of the way. Okay, here we go. Slideshow. From beginning. That's what we did yesterday.
Okay, there we go. We got it. It's
okay.
Good. It's good.
Okay.
First screen.
Okay. I'm not sure what this is. This is kind of in my way. But okay. So, not sure how to get rid of this on the side with my
Don't worry about it.
Okay, nobody, got it.
Nobody can see
All
that.
right.
By the way, Valerie, can you give me just a second? If you guys are on there, if you got pictures on there, if you want to get rid of most of them, if you go to the top up there and you touch it, there's 4 little boxes, and there's a 1, and then there's a bigger one, and there's a double one, and there's lots of little ones. If you touch the one on the left, it'll just show who's talking, and then you can see her presentation a lot better. And I can't help you on that. So, all right, Valerie, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I started learning about this years ago, raising 5 kids, and was homeschooling, and so we went through a lot of groceries, and I was always very money conscious about how much we spent on the groceries and stuff. Anyway, this is filling your pantry on a tight budget. And these are some of the things I've learned over the years. And I did some additional research for this recently for a library program. But let's see, it's not, there we go. So part of this, there's things to consider when you're shopping. It's like, how often do you make trips to the grocery store? And a lot of these other things, like, do you shop while you're hungry? How many stores do you visit? Do you work with a list when you're shopping? Or do you shop when you're tired or distracted? How often do you resort to fast food because your fridge is empty, or do you spend more than you planned? And this program hopefully will help with some of these things, some of these habits that we all have or have had in the past, maybe. But looking at the USDA.gov website, and this was the figures they had, most recent ones, I guess, for what the average American family spends on groceries. And as you can see, in 2020, lowest income households spent over $4,000. It's about more than a quarter of their income, while highest income households spent an average of $12,000 plus, which is only 7% of their income, even though it's quite a bit more money. So obviously those in the lower income are going to be struggling a lot more. And you see here was 27.9 cents of each dollar was spent on fast food, or not just fast food, but restaurants and eating out places. And 2021, with the pandemic, saw a 10% rise in that. Now this is billions of dollars every year is spent on groceries and food, obviously. And because it's such a huge market and so much money involved, there's been all kinds of studies done on this and all kinds of advertising. But inflation, I'm sure we've all noticed the last couple of years since the pandemic started. And some of the major factors driving up the cost of food that I saw this, the PBS NewsHour had a segment recently, it's in October, said that was a 13.5% rise in the cost of food, which is the highest rise in 43 years. And they said some of the things contributing to that was the supply chain disruptions from COVID, which is also factors in rising prices, sanitation costs, labor costs. Climate change has affected things. There's been a lot more droughts out west where a lot of our crops and things are grown. The war in Ukraine has affected things. They're one of the main breadbaskets for wheat and sunflower oil. They also cited bird flu, said the second largest case of bird flu in recent years here. 40 million birds died, and eggs, 40% drop, and of course affect meat supplies too. The cereals have gone up 20%, butter 30%, coffee 20%, and those were affected things like war, energy, and climate all affected those things. And anyway, that's some of the things related to the inflation. There's also, of course, you might have heard of shrinkflation. That's where the price stays the same, but the amount in the box or the container is less. You're getting less for your money. So I can remember when all the canned goods were sold by the pound. Now it's more likely to see soups in 15-ounce cans and produce and veggies in 15-ounce and even smaller sometimes. That's shrinkflation. But I also learned another recent one here, something called skimpflation. And there was I think NBC News had something on this recently. But that's where they reduced the quality of products while continuing to market them at the same price. And they've done things like add water, either reduce or eliminate certain ingredients. They give an example of like Hungry Man chicken bowls, and they went from like 39 grams of protein down to 32 grams of protein or some such. It reduced the amount of the chicken. This was one example they also showed was the Smart Balance butter spread. They added more oil to the butter spread and went from 39% oil up to, I think, 64%. People didn't like it too much, so they've gone back now. And I actually happened to find a couple of these. And there's an example of these. These were ones I found in town where you can see where they did that. But they also have done things, they mentioned the example of one brand of cereal at Whole Foods, I think it was an almond, vanilla almond, honey almond or something. They end up dropping the actual almonds out and just having almond flavoring. But that's skimpflation, and that's something else we've been seeing recently. That's not helped the overall cost of food or the quality of our food either. But anyway, there are so many places to shop in our town, just some of them. Of course, there's still things like drugstores and convenience stores and all those kind of places you can find food at too. And so it's like when you get in the store and there's all these, this is just the butter section, and that's not the whole butter section. I mean, it's just butters and margarines. There's so many choices. Like, where do you decide to, how do you decide what to pick? Anyway, we're going to talk about ways to cut the spending, how to recognize the best prices. I thought things like marketing ploys are very interesting, ways they try and get you to buy more. And then consider some alternatives for funding groceries. First, a real brief history of supermarkets, and I think it's kind of interesting. In early America, of course, they just had trading posts and things. And then as stores, a town started to develop, they had more general stores. And then they came along with more, like bigger towns. They had specialty shops like butcher shops and bakeries, and they were all little separate storefronts. But back then, early, you would just bring your list and the clerks would choose all the stuff for you. And early 1900s, A&P, or Atlantic and Pacific, were the first major chains for groceries. It went until 1916. Clarence Saunders, who's from Memphis, started this first type of store where it was self-service, and it was Piggly Wiggly. I'm sure y'all have heard of Piggly Wiggly. I don't know if they have them out west, but it was more common in the South, I think. But Clarence Saunders had some innovations in his little stores. He had a little turnstile, so you could come in, but you couldn't go back out the same way. He was the first one to use shopping baskets for the customers and let them pick out their own groceries. And then he also was the first to use price tags on the items, so people would, know what they're paying and then check out. 1930, Michael Cohen in Long Island developed what was kind of the first supermarket with bigger stores. He had actually worked for Kroger and some of the other chains, and it presented his ideas for doing these bigger stores and using bulk buying to lower the prices and all, and they weren't really interested. So he got together with some people and started his own store. And this was the first supermarkets. They were very successful. His slogan was, "Why pay more?" Of course, World War II came along, and that just helped increase the use of supermarkets even more from the little smaller mom and pop stores. Because when World War II came along, a lot of the men went overseas, and those little small stores, a lot of them closed because their employees were gone. Whereas it didn't hurt the supermarkets with the larger number of employees. They didn't hurt their staff quite as much, and they actually started hiring women more, and this increased the women in the workforce. 1937, so this is jumping ahead a little bit. Sylvan Goldman from Oklahoma City developed the first shopping cart. And that was something new. I mean, before people just carried the baskets around, and this is pretty innovative. But at first, surprisingly, people didn't actually want to use them because men felt like, well, you know, I'm strong enough to carry a basket. And women were pushing the baby cart or baby carriage around all the time. I don't want to push another carriage or cart. But he went ahead and made these carts. He started out with like putting a little basket on a chair with, you know, well, he got the idea from the chair, putting a basket on a chair, and he added wheels, and then he actually did a double-decker little baskets. But people resisted using them, and he actually had to pay people to come push the carts in the store and encourage other people to use them and tell them how wonderful it was before they finally caught on. But in the 1950s, the supermarkets were such a big thing. They were kind of represented the American way of life. And when visitors from other countries came over, they actually wanted to go tour our supermarkets. And Queen Elizabeth, of course, in 1957 toured through some, and Khrushchev also toured our supermarkets back in the 50s. By 1960s, 70% of all the grocery sales were supermarkets. And then the 1970s came along, and the one-stop shopping concept came out, where they added things like pharmacies and bookstores and clothing and gifts and things like that to the way. And I think Fred Meyers was the first one to do the one-stop shopping. 1975, IBM developed the UPC code with the barcodes and stuff, which that really accelerated the supply chain issues and ordering and keeping track of all that sort of thing, and made it a little quicker to check things out. In the 1980s, the warehouse store concept came out. The definition of a supermarket fiscally, I guess, is that they make over $2 million in sales per year. And we currently have more than 34,000 supermarkets in the U.S. with over $480 billion in sales. And the average store is 48,000 square feet with more than 45,000 products. So if you can imagine how hard it is to track all that. I actually wrote up a bibliography, and I'm going to email it to Scott so you can share that, I guess, or email it. I don't know if I can attach it to my program here. I was finishing it up last night. I've been meaning to do it. But there are some really excellent YouTube videos that talk about this. Modern Marvel series did a whole series on how grocery stores work. And there's ones on innovations coming. That's fascinating. Some of the new things coming. Some of them are very helpful, and some of them make me a little nervous. I know a lot of it is related to using your cell phone while you're shopping, little apps and things, which I'm not a real fan of having to shop with my phone in my hand, but I mean, a lot of people do it. So anyway, this is some of the things that's already going on. There's one program called 10 Innovations That'll Blow Your Mind. Anyway, this includes things like augmented reality, where you can wear little vision goggles or use your phone that will kind of guide you through the store. And you can sign in with your app, and it will direct you to where you find things. It'll, if you want to put in a recipe, it'll pull up the ingredients and show you where they are, and do special tracking and computer vision that allows for special dietary needs. If you've got special needs or allergies, it'll, help find those things for you too. But there's something called Q-Vision that Kroger is experimenting with. It has infrared sensors and a lot of analytic things that will kind of track how many people are in the store at one time and try and predict how many registers they'll need to have open. There's Scan and Go, which you've seen already here, and I know where we're at. We have that. A lot of the Sam's and Walmarts have that option where you can scan things with your phone as you go through the store, and then either pay with an app online or bring up one barcode and just scan that at the register so you don't have to stand in line. But there's also things like smart carts, some where you can scan your things on a little machine on your cart and bag it as you go. And then there are even some they're working on in Canada where they you just set the things in the cart and it can sense what you're putting in the cart. Those I don't think are out just yet. I don't know if any of you have heard of Amazon Go. Those are kind of like little stores where you have to have an Amazon account. You sign in with your phone as you go into the store. You can't even get in the store if you don't have the app. But it can sense what you're picking up and even what you're putting back as you go, total it up for you, and then just charge it to whatever app you have attached to your phone, whatever payment method. And then you just walk out of the store. There are no registers and there's no attendants or anything. Some of these places now too have warehouse robots. You know how we have Walmarts with those huge blue carts that are always kind of in the way, and the shoppers that are doing every shopping who just want to pick up in the parking lot. But there are some stores where they have warehouse robots that are doing all the shopping. And the warehouse, I think it's a British company called Ocado. And they use air traffic control technology for their little robots to go through their warehouses. If you watch these, the Modern Marvel thing and some of these things I've put in their bibliography, it shows them. You can watch these things, how they're working. It's really amazing. And there's also in-store robots in some stores. Some of them are kind of funny. I've forgotten what the name of the thing was, but it had big googly eyes. It was kind of funny looking. But the thing can go through and sense what things need to be restocked. It can sense hazards like spills in the floor. Can even answer questions that people need directed to things. There are also things kind of like nanotechnology having to do with food and packaging. One of the ideas was interesting. I'm not real thrilled about the idea of nanotechnology in my food, but the packaging thing, trying to make less plastic waste and having packaging that actually change color when your food is spoiled, like on meats and things. That's kind of interesting. They have self-driving delivery cars already in some places, and they're experimenting with drone deliveries in other places. But it's fascinating what's coming in the grocery store and industry there. In marketing ploys, you can kind of understand all the money to be made. It's only natural that they're going to try and figure out how to get their share of your money. You know, that's just natural. It's the way the free market works. But some of it's a little sneaky and some of it's pretty straightforward. But it's very interesting. Some of these figures online, like $345+ billion spent on advertising in just 1 year. And I think that's going to go up to the trillion within a couple of years here. So, but that's a lot of money spent on studying how people shop and why they buy things they do and getting you to buy. But here are some of the ways they do that. I mean, so large carts have gotten larger, more than 3 times as large in the last few decades than what they were originally. I know if people have larger carts, they're going to be tempted to fill them. You just visually think you're not getting as much. They also appeal to your senses by use of color, smell, and music. There's a reason why places like delis and bakeries and things are close to the front entry, kind of draw you into the smell, the easy, gentle music that kind of makes you relax and slow down, because the more time you spend in the store, the more you buy. A lot of times the first things you see when you enter a store is the produce section, and with the bright colors and things that kind of makes you think everything's fresh and healthy here. I mean, if you think about most of the stores that you walk into, I know most of the ones that I walk into, is the produce section right there first that you see. That and the bakery close by a lot of times too. It varies somewhat between stores, but it's very common. Now, something I had never realized or thought about that I came across in these research was that American shoppers tend to always shop in a counterclockwise direction. And British shoppers are the opposite. I never really thought about it, but it's true. And that's part of the reason why in most American stores, the doors are on the right end of the store and the checkouts are on the left, because of this habit that we go. And let's see. If you hadn't noticed, most of the main, we call your staple things, your breads, your milks, your meats, and things that most people buy are around the perimeter or toward the back of the store. And that's to, take advantage of this way we shop. The people don't always go up and down every aisle. They usually shop the perimeter and drop in and out of the different aisles. And they want you to come into the aisles as much as possible so that you will buy those things, see those products and buy them. So they spread the staples out. And part of the reason they're always switching things around, reorganizing things, so you can spend more time in the store. Now, free samples are fun and all, but they can also create a sense of obligation. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but you almost feel guilty if you eat the food and then you walk away without buying anything. But, that's why they do it. I mean, it's fun to try different things. But, yeah, beware that you might feel obligated. And you don't feel obligated if you don't do this stuff. Now, this is one saying that marketers have. Eye level is buy level. And they found that the eye level down to about waist level is where 60% of sales for products are within that area. And so marketers or these merchandisers will actually pay to have that prime space. That's why you find a lot of your name brand products are right there at eye level. And they pay to have that space. I was in Walmart a few months ago, and I was taking some pictures for this program. And I saw a lady there with her iPad, and she was taking pictures of the shelves, and she'd shift things around a little bit and line things up and take another picture. And I was curious, and I asked her about it. She said she works for a company that represents a lot of these products. They represent hundreds of products. And her job was to go in and make sure that those products are where they're paid to be placed. And I had heard that, the eye level ones, you pay more for that. She says, actually, the highest price, the most they pay for is the area they call Action Alley, which is those main aisles coming in and out of the store. The end caps on the end, those displays on the very ends of the rows that are near the perimeters, those cost more than up in the middle of the aisles too. But Action Alley is where the highest priced products are placed. And it's very difficult for new products to get placement in stores because stores are always studying how much they sell and is it worth the time to, the place that it takes up for the amount of sales. If things don't sell well, they're gone pretty quick. So Anyway, because things are at eye level, sometimes your cheaper products are lower and higher. And so you need to learn to look higher and lower too. But eye level is buy level for kids too. And so if you own a cereal aisle, you might notice all the sugary kid cereals are at their eye level. This definitely appeal to kids kind of cereal here. This is something my son actually got home one day. He saw in the clearance aisle, and it's kind of funny. It doesn't sound very tasty to me, but it's interesting. This is something I came across too online doing my research. Creating eye contact to build trust. It said in a two-part study, researchers confirmed that cereals targeting children are placed about 23 inches off the ground, and those aimed at adults about 48 inches high. After they studied all these cereals, they found that cereals on the top shelves have characters staring straight ahead or slightly up to make eye contact with adults. For the lower boxes with cartoon characters with large inviting eyes, the gaze is focused slightly downwards to create eye contact with children. I never thought about that, but I was curious if that was true. So when I went to the grocery store, I started looking at these cereal boxes and to see if it was true. Somewhat it was true and somewhat not. But anyway, this is the example they had in this article. The one for the adults there, he's kind of like, hey, baby, I got some cereal for you, huh? Anyway, the Fruit Loop one's looking down more toward the kids. But this is kind of what I saw when we were there. But all these boxes got these eyes. People looking at you. It's just cereal. But I thought it was funny. Even the cereal had eyes. This one here. Now, one thing, meaningless claims, I saw this recently. If you notice here on the popcorn, it says only real ingredients. Well, what does the word real mean? You know, some of these things, they make it sound like it's something healthy for you or natural or organic, whatever, but actually certain words don't really have any legal definition. I mean, when you think about it, rocks are real, asbestos is real. Does that mean that's, you know, doesn't mean you want it in your cereal? You know, this is what is actually in the that box that says real ingredients. Natural flavors. Natural doesn't have any legal definition either. That anything you find in the world is natural. That mixed cocoa barrels, I'm not really sure what those are. Probably those, but the word organic does have a legal definition, but words like real and natural don't, so it can mean anything. Creating a sense of urgency. You see this time of year a lot, trying to get you to buy more. It's not, you know, this week only, today only, don't miss out, it says on this one. These little countdown tickers, you know, you see online a lot too. This sale's only good for this amount of time, trying to get you to feel like you have to get it now or you're going to miss out. It's that fear of missing out. Misleading signage. I mean, I think most people kind of know if it says 2 for $5, you don't have to buy 2. They just be $2.50 a piece. If it says 10 for $10, if you buy one, it's $1. But I've actually run into a couple of people who thought you had to buy 10 to get the price of $1 each. So not everybody knows that. I mean, that's something to be aware of. Now, things when you buy one, get one, you do have to buy both of them, or you leave behind your free one if you only get one. But things like this sign, you don't have to buy 10. You can buy 1 or 3 or whatever you want, and they're still $1 a piece. Cross-selling is a common way to add to sales too. It can be handy. I mean, they put like pasta near the spaghetti sauce, or they put salsa near the chips and things like that. Related products, coffee filters near the coffee. That's not always a bad thing, but it is a way to increase their sales. Now, another thing, supermarkets their ads, not everything in an ad is on sale. A lot of the items are just what they call featured items. It doesn't mean they're reduced price. And I actually took an ad from one of our local grocery stores, and then the next week I went and checked those prices and to see how many of them were the same price next week when it wasn't on sale or wasn't in the ad, and how many of them were actually on sale. And it was about 50-50. So half of those things were actually a reduced price and the other half were not. They were just so-called featured items in the ad. And I don't know if you can see it on this, but where I circled the blue, it says while supplies last. So they're using that sense of urgency to try and get people to feel like you better get it while it's here. So, but it's something they usually have anyway. So take it with a grain of salt. This is another way they make some additional sales. The seasonal things, they're going to put seasonal packaging on it. Pretty little Christmassy looking packaging for the holidays. And it looks like something special. It's a lot of times the same price as all the other coffees. When I read the description about this, and I was curious, this is a local brand. But what's actually in this package that makes it a Christmas blend? And I read the ingredients, it's just coffee. There's nothing added to it. It's just coffee. But it has all this kind of romantic sounding description on the packaging about medium roast, wintry mornings, all this kind of thing. Save some for Santa kind of thing. So it's just coffee, but it's pretty packaging. So. Now there was one video I watched about how expectations can influence your taste. And this is interesting. I've known this was true from other things studying earlier in psychology. This is something restaurants have known forever too. What you expect can influence your opinion of what you ate. It's why they put garnishes and things on plates in restaurants, why they make it look attractive. You eat with your eyes a lot of times, but also what you think you're going to eat will affect your taste and your judgment about what you're buying. They did tests where they took like low fat and full fat cheese and gave it to people, and they told them it was all full fat. And people, even though they were eating, no, I'm getting it backwards, I'm sorry. They did the same cheese, both were full fat. They told people one was full fat and one was low fat. And people thought that the low fat one and the one they were told was low fat didn't taste as well, even though that was still the same cheese. The same thing they did with Coke. They put Coke in a regular cup and Coke in a cup with a Coke logo on it. And people thought the one with the logo tasted better, even though it was the same. And just being told that they think something is going to be better will make people think that it's better sometimes than it is. So there's the video that I'm talking about is in my bibliography, and he explains it a lot better than I do, but it was very interesting. People who ate ice cream that was labeled full fat ate more of it than the ones that were low fat because they thought it would taste better. Now, I don't know, most people know, but maybe some won't, that there are, of course, name brands or national brands. There are private label or store brands, and there are economy brands when you're looking at these canned goods on the shelf or cereals and other things. The name and national brands are those big companies that spend a lot on their advertising. They usually try and keep a very consistent quality of product in their cans, so it's very consistent whenever you buy it. You know what to expect. But they tend to be the highest price cans online too. Now, store brands a lot of times they're the same quality as the name brand. In fact, some manufacturers and produce suppliers, they just switch in labels sometimes when they're going through making these things. The economy brands are a little less money, but they can have more inconsistency. Sometimes the regular pieces of fruit or vegetables. I actually opened a bunch of cans of peaches, bought a whole bunch of name brand, store brands, and the economy brands, and opened them all. And I measured how much liquid was in them, and I measured how much before and after, and looked at the ingredients and where they're from. I've noticed the name brands and the store brands, I guess it can vary where they're from. A lot of it's USA right now because of the season, but when it's off season, it might be from foreign countries. One can I think I had was interesting. It was like picked in Greece and packaged in Thailand and then sold in the US. So I don't know why those peaches made such a roundabout trip before it got here, but it's interesting to read the labels. They said only about 10% of people actually read the labels. Anyway, it's worth trying store brands sometimes and comparing it with your name brand and seeing, because sometimes they're just as good, but it's usually a lot less money. Of course, read unit prices. This is a good example I found online of how to read a unit price. If you want to know what's the best deal that you're buying, if you see there like in little pink boxes on the lower right corner, it'll say how much you're paying per ounce. Even though the overall price is less on the one, you're paying more per ounce than you would in the bigger package. Usually, if you buy a larger size package, you're going to pay less per ounce overall than you would for a smaller one because you're paying for more packaging with the smaller one. A lot of times the bigger packaging is on the lower shelves too. Now, there's a few exceptions, so it doesn't hurt. Sometimes the most commonly bought size can be lower than the bigger bulk size, so always pays to check those little unit prices. This is when I opened up all these cans of peaches, and you see the difference in the price per ounce. The name brands were about 15 cents an ounce. The organic one was the highest price, but it was also in China. And the first time I bought this brand, it was the worst looking one of the bunch, surprisingly. Now, this is the only organic brand of peaches I've found without going out of town. So there might be better brands in other stores. The store brands, Food Club and Great Value, those were a little less money. The Great Value is Walmart's brand, and it was quite a bit less, about half of the regular thing, but the ingredients were pretty much the same. That Smart brand, that's the economy brand, actually was a little more expensive than the Walmart store brand in this case. It also had added high fructose corn syrup and sugar, which the others did not have. Now, expiration date is another thing that's starting to be reformed because a lot of people waste food that doesn't need to be thrown out. Expiration dates have not been standardized very much. It's more decided by the individual companies, but they're moving toward having a more standardized type of labeling because so much food is wasted. I have the amounts written down somewhere. I'm not going to dig it out right now, but a lot of the dates on there are the peak time, the peak quality that the companies recommend. Use it by this date if you want the peak freshness. Doesn't mean that it will be unhealthy to eat if it's like 2 months past the date on a canned peach or something. Although always use common sense. If something is bulging, leaking, smelling moldy, anything like that, just don't eat it, even if the date is good. But use, common sense that your eyes and your nose, and don't eat things that look unsafe. Now, obviously, meat and dairy products and eggs are going to spoil quicker than produce. And canned goods can last for, you know, be on the shelf 2-3 years or more sometimes and be fine. Acidic type things like tomatoes and stuff will not keep quite as long as non-acidic produce. But anyway, because of the expectations and the different name brands, store brands and things, it's good if you want to save some money. Do your own blind taste test and maybe try some of the foods you purchase most often. Sample some of the less costly versions like the store brands. Compare if you think the name brand is the only one you would ever eat. It's a good idea to maybe try a blind taste test against some of the store brands and see what's really true. We did this in our family years ago, back when we used to drink sodas. We don't really much anymore. But my family thought that Pepsi was the only way to go because that's what they grew up with. But when I picked 4 different brands, Pepsi, I think RC, there was a couple of store brands, and they did a blind taste test. Pepsi actually came out dead last for them, and they liked them in the store brands the best. So you just never know. All right, in order to save here, what you want to do is take stock of what you have in your pantry and fridge. What things do you use the most? Be sure you rotate your stock and put your new stock in the back and use the older stuff first so that it doesn't spoil. Plan to use up perishable foods first if you can. Staple foods are those basics that make up what you eat regularly. Consider special dietary needs of your families, like allergies, things for babies and whatnot. And then the way to save it, a lot of times look at the ads and see, go cherry picking. That's where you go. A lot of times stores will have what they call loss leaders, where they'll take, sell something at cost or even a slight loss just to get you into the store. And then the other prices will be higher and they'll try and get you to buy that stuff. But if you go cherry pick and just the sale things, you can save some money. If you buy things that are in season, they're usually cheaper when they're in season than if there's something that has to be imported out of season. Shop with a list. That helps a lot. If you don't go through the store trying to remember and then you come across all these other things and end up filling your cart with things you didn't intend to buy. So if you start with a list, it will help you keep from spending more than you need to. The more times you go in the store, they've studied, you're gonna buy more things. So checkout lines are loaded with all kinds of impulse buys, trying to avoid that. Sometimes they even have special aisles for people with kids that don't have candy in them, so you can help avoid some of that. And watch for clearance items, but if you're not familiar with the product, you might want to try it first before you go stocking up. Whether it's buying it on clearance or using coupons and buying something you don't normally buy, you might end up not ever using it, and that's just a waste. But if you do find things you buy anyway, it doesn't hurt to stock up when you see this. When you go to checkout, pay attention. I always check my receipts before I leave the store because I do find mistakes occasionally. Sometimes they accidentally scan more than you bought, or they put in the wrong code. I think one time I ended up buying ginger and they put in the code for cantaloupe or something, or it was the other way around. I think ended up being like a $12 cantaloupe or something because they put the wrong code in. So check before you go out the door, because it's kind of hard to prove once you've left the store. But also make sure you've got all your bags and your wallet. It's frustrating if you live 10 miles out of town like I do, to get home and find out you left the bag behind or something. So, you need to avoid shopping when you're tired or distracted, and don't shop while you're hungry. You will buy more. And try not to shop with people who stress you if you can. I mean, it's not always avoidable, but if you're more relaxed and able to focus on what you're doing, you should save more money. alternatives to supermarkets. Now, where we're at, there are different meat markets around, and sometimes they have pretty good deals. It doesn't hurt to check them out and go find out what they have. I know our little meat market does real good on prices for beef compared to some of our groceries. There's bakery outlets around sometimes. You get those name brands for a fraction of what you pay in the store. And this is not necessarily expired food. Sometimes it might just be overstocks or a regular length or something like that, but they're usually good deals. There's a discount stores around here too, and they can have different sources where they get their things, but they're not necessarily all expired either. And like I said, some things are just slightly expired. They're still safe to eat. So that's another good source. This is some more things, some of the things that meats that might have expired in the refrigerator section will last quite a while in the freezer. Farmers markets can be good sources of things. Our local Tractor Supplies have like a little farmers market on first of every month that a lot of people might not be aware of. You pick farms. Sometimes you can save quite a bit going to pick your own. And their websites usually online, it'll tell you where those are if you're not familiar. Other ways to save, you bulk buying, making your own mixes, doing your own gardening or edible landscaping. Certain kitchen things you can regrow, things like green onions and celery and stuff. You can plant those little stumps and they'll come back up and you regrow them. Do meatless meals occasionally. Leave feedback on products. My daughter's left feedback on certain products and they send her freebies, send her coupons and free products sometimes. Cook in batches. Try some new foods. When you have more choices, you can watch for those sales and eat more variety. So anyway, assess what you have, plan wisely, limit your trips, be aware of marketing ploys, and consider some alternatives. And if you think that's all overwhelming, then just start with a few things. I know there's a lot more marketing ploys that are kind of interesting and innovations that I've probably forgotten half of them here. I know they've studied even things like if a woman gets her booty bumped when she's shopping, she's more likely to leave the store within 5 minutes. I thought it was a strange thing. They have kiosks now. You know those little kiosks when you walk by and it offers you, scan your phone or something, drop a little item out, the vending machine. Well, they also have kiosks that can have facial recognition and see if it's an old or young person, a man or woman, and choose advertising according to who it is that's walking by it. So there's all kinds of things that are very interesting. And like I said, I will try and send that on to Mr. Scott here. So
Valerie, you might stop sharing your screen now.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
All right. Okay, well, that's all I had. So.
Can we get a copy of your written items?
I just sent the bibliography to Mr. Scott. So a lot of those YouTube videos are really fascinating. The history of the grocery store. There's one about the logistics of grocery stores and all how the whole supply chain works with the trucking industry and the warehouse and everything. It's amazing what they do. So.
Well, things have changed a lot since I raised a family. And I mean, I really enjoyed this because I learned even some more than I learned years ago. I mean, your presentation really enlightens people, and all the colored pictures and everything is really great.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you, Valerie. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? I appreciate it. I really, boy, you did a great job on a lot of those pictures. I think you said your daughter helped you on those.
She did. She's with me a lot of times when I'm taking photos. So.
Well, thank you, Abby. That was a wonderful presentation. Great PowerPoint. I'm impressed. So anyway, I just want to let everybody know that I did record it. I will put it on our Oregon FCE website and you'll be able to go review it. I have lots of people that wanted to be here today, and some of them actually have their FCE meetings today at this time, so they couldn't be there. But some, I know that I've got one email from a gal who's, they're going to actually show this in January. So you'll be famous even in January. Do you have anything else? Go ahead.
So thank you, Valerie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And so I just do want to mention that I do have January set up, and it is Joan Aguirre, and Joan actually did one on tea, and in January she'll be doing one on National Hot Tea Month, and she did one before, if you guys have watched it before, and it was really good. And then I have one in March, and that is set up, and it is what's on your device, and that's going to be done by Faye Spencer. So I do need somebody for February. So if somebody wants to email me and volunteer, we'll be willing to do that. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll let you guys go if anybody wants to visit or anything.
Oh, Scott, before you go, I thought you might want to know that Marilyn had been in the hospital for about a week. It had to have happened shortly after she signed up for FCE, but she was home the day I left her some information on, well, I took back a copy of her restoration. You know, I copied it before I sent it in.
Thanks for letting us know.
Okay, and we can bring that up again at our meeting, our board meeting that we are going to have here in a little bit. So again, thank you, Valerie.
Yes, thank you, Valerie.
I will let everybody go, and I'll start recording this as soon as we get done. And I really appreciate you doing this. You did great.
I really appreciate it too. It was a very good update. Thank you, Valerie. I'm going to let them know.
All right. We'll let you guys go. See you next month.
Okay.
Well, it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hey, you come to our others too.
I might. Thanks. Enjoyed it.
All right. Well, if you send either get my email from Valerie or send it to me, and I'll get you on the list. We do them the first Wednesday of each month.
Oh, nice.
And I'm looking for presenters. Are you? Do you have something you could present?
I guess I could teach charcoal art, but
Well,
I'm not sure.
Just think about it and talk to your mom.
Okay.
All right. Would love to have you. All right. I'll let you guys go.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good